Craig Smoke.
He played the game. He broadcast the color analyst for Baylor Radio. J.J. Joe saw him as he was walking out of the McLean. In fact, on Saturday after the win against Kansas, he joins us on 365 Sports. J.J., great to see you. Also great to have you on the show. Baylor ran for 273 yards, and even though it got a little bit shaky in the second half, is that the formula that you've been waiting for?
Well, I've said it a couple times that I think if you have a team that returns, 4 or 5 starters, 4 starters on your offensive line. I know Khalil just got back. And, they are your identity. You don't have any wideouts returning. Now, we were, challenged with runners because, Reese and Squirrel, both those guys are small, young. And Tay's been hurt. But I've been asking to give the runners 30 carries. But Dave, I didn't know they were going to give one of the guys 30. But, hey, we'll take it.
JJ, they kind of took their foot off the gas after that drop by Ben Sims. What do you think they're getting at least a little bit better with that? Or was this game another wake-up call for them that they need to follow?
Well, if this team in the wake, I don't know how we wake them up. I think Coach Aranda – it's kind of like a quandary about this team, but I think he knows what he has. What he has is a mix of, wily veterans that have been through the process mixed with a bunch of young puppies that or we could say they're not young any longer because they played 7 games. But, with young players, they seemingly make mistakes that, I guess there's never a good time to make a mistake. But it's like they cascade them. It's like, one young guy make a mistake, then a veteran will make a mistake, then another 2 young guys will make a mistake. And it just compounds, and it's like it's contagious with this team. And that's why we're 4-3 instead of maybe being 6-1 or 5-2. But we'll see if they learn. We'll see on Saturday. Ask me that question next week.
JJ, going back to the running game for a second, you mentioned Richard Reese isn't the biggest guy, but there he was with the amount of carries he had. But it seems like Kyron Drones is finding his footing. Would you agree with that?
I would. I think Kyron, I've been really impressed. I mean, he's figured out, how I think Coach Juice has taught him, hey, if you want playing time, we have 2 young guys, and of course Squirrel was out, that are really playing well. If you want playing time, we need your size. This is how I need you to run. I think I've loved Kyron. He's been really good with, one cut and go. He's been surprising a little bit with his ability to get to the edge as well for a nice-sized young man. But I think he's exactly what they need with Tay out because they just got to have a little bit more size out there to complement Squirrel and, of course, Richard Reese.
JJ, as someone who played the position, and also you were, again, a dual-threat guy, you had to get outside the pocket because you're flushed, you're rushed, and maybe you had to buy some time. What is it? What would you suggest to Blake Shapen about protecting the football? Not by throwing it, that's important, but there's a couple of weeks in a row where a critical fumble that kind of flipped everything around.
Yeah, it's just one of those, Dave, it's one of those things you have to go through. I mean, trust me, I made my share of, really untimely mistakes as a young quarterback. And, I think I wrote this in an article that, Shapen has started 9 games as of, I guess, of course, the Kansas game. He's played in 13. So he's basically played in a season's worth of games, one more, and then started less than a season. And I think what we've seen is just, a little bit of that lack of experience and immaturity a little bit. Not that, immaturity in the sense that, he's just, arrogant or something, but it's just immaturity as far as the experience level of knowing what he can get away with and what he can't. And, those 2 turnovers, if you think about the 2 big ones, forget the INTs. I'm not concerned about the INTs, and that's what I wrote. It's more of the security with the ball, with the fumbles. Because I think that's not only a technical thing, because it's very technical. I know he has a quarterback's coach that works with them on that. But then also, is part of just kind of the focused mental component of it. And he has to understand that this team goes as he goes. He is the pulse. And as a quarterback, that's one of the hardest things for you to get. You think it's only offensive related. It's actually team related because if he's balling out like last year when he first started, Do you not think the defense wanted to get the ball back so they could let Chapin have another shot at it?
Mm-hmm.
That's how they think. And if they see that for some reason Chapin is struggling and may not pull him out, right, that extra little bit that they need, it may not be there because they're saying like, well, he doesn't have it going today.
JJ, the defense still not really getting after the quarterback all that much, and that is going to be tantamount in the next few weeks, especially this week against Texas Tech on the road. They're going to have to take the crowd out of it somehow. What would you do to fix that?
Coach won't do it. No, he won't do it. I just think that the thing this year is we have to cover those who cover. Mm-hmm. And that part of that is, hey, we lost. You lost some good corners. You lost Kalen Barnes. You lost Raleigh Tejada. You moved Al Walcott. Your top three corners, think about it. They're not playing corner anymore. One is still on the roster, but he's not playing corner. And I have my own thoughts about that. I mean, in this league, I don't think I ever would have took a guy off corner who had success playing corner. But nevertheless, that's what we've done. So when you put two young men back there, although Mark Milton has experience, AJ McCarty has some experience, Lorando Johnson, he was a corner in high school. So you're going to have to work through some things with him. And the coach Roberts has decided, hey, we got to give our front an opportunity because we think they're really good. And but I will start this with a caveat. The Kansas team that we played, I went back and looked at their stats. I mean, they haven't given up more than one sack in any game this season. Since Bean's been there and when Jalen Daniels. Both those guys are mobile. So we got one. They hadn't given up in more than three pressures, three quarterback hurries in a game. So we had three. So I think maybe if I go this weekend against the Tech team, and I wrote this today on Sic'Em 365, this team, Tech, has given up 24 sacks and 36 QB hurries in a season. That's 60 impacts on their quarterback in 7 games, I think. If we don't get to this guy this week, then I'm concerned about our ability to rush the passer with just our front four.
Yeah, if Texas Tech has, everybody's got weaknesses, but there's certainly the offensive line. I mean, no doubt. So, yeah, I'm with you there, JJ. If there's a 0 sack total again, then, man, sound the alarms in a major way. I was curious what you thought about the way they got Kyron Drones involved, a little package for him near the goal line. Do you like that?
I love it. I love it. And I know, trust me, I've been a quarterback, and, man, you hate to come out. I know Blake was standing there like, man, Coach is tripping. Now, I'm sure Coach told him, hey, we're going to try to get him in the game and get us some action. But still, when you're in the game, it's different being quarterback than being a wideout or being, a tight end. You just never want to give up snaps because you feel like it interrupts your flow. But it looked like Blake was a trooper. He knew it was coming, seemed like. And I think, since you do want to protect Chapin from the hits, he had just been concussed, 10 days before. Yep. It's good since you want to run it to get Kyron in with that size and that body and a guy who's also proven he can throw the ball. I think they'll expand his package. And I would also really seriously consider, whenever we start getting to really short and we think the quarterback may run, to at least make it a consideration. You don't want to do it too much because that will throw Chapin off and you don't want to upset your starter. But I think you consider it at least and make other teams prepare for it.
JJ, where was the most difficult place you ever had to play? A conference game when you were at Baylor?
And you may have read that. I told people before the season, I gave a list, and Norman and Austin were like the last two, and I hadn't played in Norman, so that may not be fair. I played in Austin, and I know they've expanded their stadium, but I'm going to tell you, Lubbock, especially Lubbock at night. I played in Lubbock in the day. I played Lubbock at night. It's something about, I don't know if it's the sound, the way the stadium is built, but it does not escape there. I remember playing in Lubbock my junior year, and we got beat 38 to 15 or 20 or something. And I just remember that I could not hear myself call signals. Now, when you're a quarterback, most of the time you understand in loud places, any place you play, it's hard for your teammates to hear you. But when you have a hard time hearing yourself, it's loud. And I remember just how loud Tech was and how rowdy they were. And it is just a difficult place to go into and come out of there with the win if you don't play clean and if you don't get really physical with them from the jump. So it's a tough joint, man. It just is.
Is there a chance, JJ, and I don't know, based on what we've seen, can they put together 3 or 4 quarters, and is it enough even to win there? But is there a chance if they get that game, that could get them going in the right direction?
Yeah, I mean, Dave, this team isn't far off. That's the frustrating thing, I think, with fans. I think, we saw the 2012 team after RG3 left, and we went 7-5. We kind of saw it, and you kind of think they closed, but then they went on the run, and we felt like, that 8-5 team ended up being 8-5. That's an 8-5 team. This team, has been frustratingly. They've frustrated most of us to get to the 4-3 because you see the glimpse. You see the glimpse of, like, the first half. They were about to take Kansas to the woodshed and have them tuck tail at half and say, let's get to next week. Until we decided that the old Baylor or the Baylor from the previous couple weeks would show up. And I just believe, and it's not anything big. It's like, if we just don't turn it over or make that kind of mistake, then man, the ceiling for this team is way up there. And I'm hoping that we can at least play a clean first half where we just we take care of the ball like we did early in the season, and we just decide we're going to run the game, run the ball, and be physical with Tech and see where the chips fall.
Not to single him out, JJ, but it's just one of those plays. If Ben Sims just catches the most catchable touchdown ever, then they probably win that game 62-3. But it's like that one thing went wrong, and then just a bunch of stuff started going wrong. And it's just, it's a lot of it's self-inflicted. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm not going to put it on Ben. I think Ben probably beat himself up more than anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Ben never misses the ball, right? And I'm with you, though. I mean, Craig, I'm not just singing, but I'm with you. When he missed that, I'm like, oh, my goodness, here we go. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing that came across my mind. Mm-hmm. Now, if I'm saying it in the booth, here we go. What happens to play later? We throw a pick, right?
Yep.
So I think if I'm thinking it, then potentially just, subconsciously some of the players are thinking it. Ben Sims misses a wide open pass. And think about this, Craig, is if he misses it, say if Blake just decides I'm either going to throw it to my guy or it's going to be incomplete on third down, and we kick a field goal and we go up 31-3.
Mm-hmm.
You still feel really good, right?
Yeah.
You feel good. 31-3, we feel great. And then maybe we get the first half drive. What do we do? Right? Mm-hmm. So I think, that's why we just need to play a clean game in the first half against Tech. And I think that'll help us at least feel like, okay, I think we're ready. And then we'll just let the chips fall with the May in the second half.
JJ, there's been times throughout this year that Dave Aranda has kind of alluded to this team, the maturity or immaturity or maybe some infighting. I asked him a couple of weeks ago, is there anything simmering that's like a problem within the team? He said no. It's just part of, kind of understanding to be a college athlete or whatever. There has been a player or two that's kind of like on social media kind of bitched and moaned a little bit, so to speak.
Just had one enter the transfer portal a week ago.
Yeah, I had one enter the transfer portal, and I even asked Dave about that. He doesn't take that personally. There's always a reason, but is that a concern of yours right now? And you would think if anyone had the pulse of that, it would be someone like Dave Aranda.
I do. I think, and I don't think he'll blow smoke either. I think, I think he would actually shoot you straight, right?
Yep.
In his own way. So I would be really concerned if they would have lost to Kansas. And I was really impressed by the way we came out against Kansas. I said, okay, wow. Because I thought, we may have guys start to bail, right? You get 3-3, you expect to win conference.
Yep.
But I'm going to tell you, at the moment I felt like this, I think he got across these guys, is running out of tunnel. Apu is always the first guy. But he actually ran a little faster this week. He came out of the tunnel. He did his normal deal. He doesn't run all the way to the sideline, to the end zone. That's too far for Apu. He's a big guy. So he cuts to the sideline like he always does. And he had a level of energy that I hadn't seen from Apu in a while. It's like he was saying, okay, enough, right? And although his stats don't show it, he also has to understand. He is one of those ones on the defense that can make guys come go with him. Mm-hmm. It's not that many of them that can, but he can. And he had a really good game, I thought. I haven't seen the stats, but I saw a couple plays where he just couldn't get Bean, but he did his job and flushed Bean, and we just didn't corral him. But that's when I felt like, okay, these guys might be ready to play. Because Apu, if he's doing it, that means he's bringing some guys with him. So, I hope we see that kind of thing on Saturday.
JJ, before we let you go here, a lot of good stuff, but just your final thoughts, or I guess your passing thoughts on what you've seen, if anything, from Texas Tech so far.
Yeah, I've seen him in a couple. I think I saw him play a little bit against NC State. I hadn't gotten into him yet, guys, to be honest with that. But okay. I know when I saw him play NC State, they played a really good game. This is what I know from my preliminary reading is that, they've lost 3 games and they've all been the ranked teams. They haven't lost a game. Lost to NC State. I believe that was on the road. I think they also lost to, help me out here. They lost to Kansas State. Was that right?
NC State on the road.
Right.
Yeah, all 3 losses are on the road.
And then Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State. All those are, think about it, all those are ranked teams. I think NC State is 24 now. They lost their quarterback. They had their quarterback then. So that tells me he won his 2 close ones. Texas at home was close. Houston, I think, was at home, or was that away? That was a close one, though.
Yeah, they're perfect at home. They're perfect at home, and they're winless on the road. Yeah.
Yeah. So that what that tells me, is that they're a solid team. They're probably in that vein right now that they're young, that they play much better at home than they do away. Not that they play bad, and that for Baylor to go win, it's going to be tough. We're going to have to start out playing clean, and we're going to have to play what I call with kind of the type of aggression and hunger that, to be frank, I didn't really see glimpses of until Saturday.
Yeah, that says quite a bit, right? And then even Aranda on Monday said we can either be the team of the first half, or that's the team we can be, or we can fight trying to not be the team that, of course, as Craig mentioned and you have expounded on, and letting them off the hook. There's one player that I was going to ask you about that I thought would have much more of an impact on defense. And again, it's a position that doesn't get a lot of tackles, but they can be disruptive. We've mentioned Apu. What are your thoughts? I haven't seen much or heard much from Jackson Player.
Yeah, I haven't either. I know I looked at a couple times, and I saw him. I know he got in the rotation, but I didn't see as much from him, and I hadn't heard as much. But I really hadn't focused on him, so I've been a little bit surprised. But whatever they're doing with the rotation, when you have a lot of times it's 3-man down, it's probably hard to get him in. I think we got. Oh man, I can't believe he got hurt this week. Our defensive end that got
Cole
hurt.
Maxwell. Right?
Cole Maxwell came back and he went back out. So I'm thinking we may see him a little bit more. But you're right. I mean, I just haven't seen much from him, and I couldn't really expound on why not.
Thank you, JJ, as always, man. Have a great broadcast in Lubbock. Thanks for your time.
Take care. You guys have fun.
JJ Joe, Baylor Color Analyst on Baylor Radio, also former